Good afternoon, all New Franklin telehealth audience. How are we doing today? And right now we have a guest star, Miss Hellman. How are we doing, Miss Hellman?
Oh, we're doing good here, everybody. How you doing? I miss you all here at the center. As you can see, I'm wearing my mask, so don't forget to wear your mask when you go out every single day, if you go out. Even if you don't and someone comes to the door, you should be wearing your mask because your mask protects you and it protects the other person. We want to make sure that everybody stays safe in our pandemic here at New York City at COVID. It is important that we stay safe. But since Rob and I are 6 feet apart, I'm going to take my mask off so that I can give you a little instruction on how to make latkes, because it's that time of year again. It's Hanukkah. The holiday of Hanukkah starts tomorrow night at sundown. And we do light our candles actually after it gets dark. It's not even at sundown. We have to wait till it gets dark outside because Hanukkah is the festival of light. And when we light our menorahs, you'll see those little, how shall we call them, candelabras in the windows. That is because with our candle lighting, we try to bring light into the world and make the world a more beautiful place. So, for the holiday of Hanukkah, I'd like to show you how to make a very special food that we eat every year called latkes. Latkes, Latkes, is made of predominantly potatoes. We make latkes on Hanukkah because the miracle of Hanukkah, which was happened in the time of the Holy Temple, BC, many years ago, is a time when the temple was destroyed, and the miracle was that a pot of oil remained behind that was able to still light the candelabra that had burned in the temple. And that pot of oil was only supposed to last for 1 day, but instead the same pot lasted 8 days until they were able to create new oil. So our culinary experiences that we do at this time are things that are all made with oil. Latkes are going to be made with oil. You could also have donuts, things that are fried in oil. The whole idea of Hanukkah is the oil and the light. So today I'm going to teach you how to do the latkes. So I use Idaho potatoes, okay? And depending on how many latkes you would like to make, an Idaho potato like this size, which is really big, will probably create about 2 to 3 latkes. And therefore, if you want more than that, you add more potatoes. If you have a potato that's half that size, they're smaller potatoes, you may get only 1 to 2 latkes out of it. And for this latke concoction, you use the potatoes, eggs, oil, cooking oil, and salt. And that is the simple items that go into a latke. It's really very easy. In order to make latkes, we take the potatoes and we grate them up. So there are many different ways you can grate a potato. One of the ways you can grate a potato is if you have a blender. So you see, here's the blender. I'm not going to actually peel the potatoes, but you would peel the potatoes and then you would be very careful not to get your hands in the blender, and you would drop the potatoes into the blender. And making the potato get chopped up very fine. Your button on your blender might be great because that speed will grate your potatoes. And you take the potato, put it in, and grate it up till it's chopped up very fine. If you have a food processor, you can use that too. You take the blade that it comes on top of the food processor, and you use the one with the very little holes. And that blade will again grate your potato into a very fine mush. That's exactly what it's gonna look like. It's gonna look like mush with water, because potatoes have water inside of them also. And that's perfectly fine. Don't get nervous about that. That is the mixture that you need to make the latkes. And you will take the blender or the food processor, or, I forgot, a hand grater even. If you have like a grater that grates cheese, some people even use that. It's that rectangular grater, and it's got tiny little holes on it. And you use your potato, and you can even hand grate, although that's a lot of work. It's very hard. You have to have big, strong muscles in order to be able to grate your potato on a hand grater. But you can use that too. So those 3 ways are the best ways today that we are going to use to make that potato mush. Once you have that potato mush, you take a bowl, any kind of bowl, but a large bowl so that it won't overflow, not a small bowl, but a large mixing bowl of any sort. You pour the potato mush into the bowl, and then for 1 large potato like this, you're going to take 2 eggs. They can be extra large or large. For a large potato like this, you will take 2 eggs because you want that mush to remain mushy. And then for this 1 potato and 2 eggs, you will use regular iodized salt. You will take a teaspoon, and you will use about a teaspoon of salt into the mush. You will then take your eggs and crack them into the mush. So you will have your, let's say we're gonna do it by potato. 1 potato, 2 eggs, and a teaspoon of salt, and we mix that mush all together in a big bowl like this, and then we now have our latke mixture. That should be about good. And if you want to make more latkes, you increase the next potato. You do 2 potatoes, will be 4 eggs and 2 teaspoons of salt. I wouldn't even go 2 teaspoons of salt. If you go incremental, I would probably only add a half a teaspoon after that more. I would not add a full teaspoon. So that first needs about a teaspoon, and after that, every potato is another half a teaspoon of salt. But I wouldn't go past 3 teaspoons of salt no matter how many potatoes you have, because that's gonna be too much. Okay, so let's put it at that. So you have your mush, okay? Now you've gotta cook that mush. How are we gonna cook that? So we take a frying pan, which I don't have here. It's a big round one, as big as you can find, with a long handle, and you take oil. Here's our cooking oil, any kind, canola, vegetable, cottonseed, any cooking oil is fine. But it's oil, because that's the holiday of Hanukkah. Here's our oil. And you take a measuring cup, and I would say that you measure about 1/4 cup of oil. You're gonna use a lot of oil for this. Your frying pan should have like at least 1 inch of oil on the bottom, no matter what size your pan is. If your pan is smaller, it should be about 1 inch of oil, no matter what size the pan. If it's bigger, the pan, you're gonna use more oil to make that inch of oil. But a latke needs a lot of oil, because at the end of the day, you want your latkes to come out beautifully golden, brown, and crispy. So now we take the oil, we measure it into about 1/4 cup, and we put that into the frying pan. We pour the oil into the frying pan. We then have to make the oil very hot. That is a key important factor that you need to make brown, crispy, golden latkes. The oil has to be very hot. So you don't want to touch that oil. Also, to test it, what you would do is take a tiny raindrop, 1 raindrop of water, and put it in the oil to see if it spatters. That's how you know the oil is hot. Don't put your fingers in, God forbid, because that oil becomes really, really hot. And once it's like that and it's so hot, You lower the flame because you don't want it to burn up. And then you will take your bowl, you will take a tablespoon or a large cooking spoon, and you will proceed to put 2 tablespoons of the mush in a circular fashion. You'll see it's going to go by itself. When you put the spoon in, the mush is going to kind of spread out in a circle. So you put at least 2 tablespoons to get a latke, and then you do that next to the latke, you build on another 2, and you follow the circle of the pan, and you put on another 2, and then another 2 until the whole pan is full on the outside. And then you put 2 tablespoons in the middle so that you've used up all the surface space of your frying pan, and it's got latkes in it. Now, you take your spoon or a knife and you run a line to make sure that the latkes don't stick to one another, that those 2 tablespoons stay together, and then you make a line so that you separate each one so that they will become latkes. And then you let them fry, and you take a fork and you check after a little bit, after it starts to congeal and get hard, you look underneath to see if it's golden brown. And you really want them to be a nice medium brown. When I say that, Rob is going to send you a picture of what the latkes should look like, so you'll get an idea of what brown is. It's not dark brown and it's not light brown, it's kind of in the middle. Shouldn't look yellow. It's got to get browner than yellow. It's got like a light almond color, brownish, the outside of the almond, not the inside. The inside's off-white, the outside, that light brown of an almond, is the color that you want your latkes to be. And it's going to take a couple of minutes on that side to get to that level of brown. And if you let it stay to that level of brown, also they get crispier. The longer that you let them cook, the crispier they get, and a crispy latke is heaven. So you want your latkes to come out like that, and now that's gonna take about, it could take a minimum of, depending how high your heat is, you have to keep the heat highish so that it continues to fry. And then when you see that golden brown on the bottom, you flip them. You flip them to the other side. And that should take about, could be 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, depends how high your flame is. It's not geared by time, it's geared by that light brown, that almond color brown, not too light. Once you see that brown, it means it's time to flip. If you have a pancake holder, a spatula, if you have a spatula, that's a good thing because you can slip it under the latke and flip it. You can do it with a fork too, because by that time it's going to have congealed already. So you grab it with a fork, not your fingers, with a fork, a metal fork, not a plastic one. Don't use plastic when you're cooking in the frying pan because it's hot there. And you flip over that latke to the other side. And then again, it should take 5 to 10 minutes for it to turn a nice golden brown on the other side. If it's yellow or yellowish, they haven't fried enough. They still have to fry more. But don't let them get dark brown because that's akin to burning. It may start to burn. So once they get a nice dark brown like an almond, that's when you take them out. And by then, they should be really nice and crispy. You should take a plate with a paper towel on it or a napkin, any kind of plate, and you put your latkes on the plate so that your now oily latkes are going to drain because you don't want to eat too much oil, but you want to have that flavor. So you put your latkes on the paper towel, let them drain for about 2 minutes, and you can taste them. And if they're not salty enough, you can always add salt on top. And there are many ways to eat it. Some people like eating it with applesauce. Some people like eating it with ketchup because it tastes like a French fry. But it is absolute, that mush in the middle is not like a French fry. It's different. And it is absolutely amazing. Therefore, I hope that you really enjoy the latkes. I hope that this has shed a little light on what the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah is about, and I hope that you will enjoy it and that you should stay together, stay well, stay in your home, and stay safe. We miss you here at Franklin, and we hope to see you back here very soon. We hope that that vaccine is going to be out very soon so that everybody can get safe and come back and we can all be in a group again. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy, and I can't wait to see you back here at Franklin.